Hey guys, my name is Nina with the Phoenix and Fox Shop. I am going to show you how to make some simple polymer clay faces today. And we are going to start off with our surface here. You need to do it on glass, or a lot of people use a ceramic tile. I just prefer to use this. This is a glass cutting board. I think I got it at Walmart for like 10 bucks. So it's pretty cheap. It's pretty big. What you want to do is start off by wiping down your surface so you don't have a lot of dust or dirt on it. And I use baby wipes, unscented baby wipes. This isn't the brand I always use, it's just what I picked up because it was cheap. So, because plastic, which is what the Sculpey is made out of, Sculpey 3, and I'm using white pearl. This is my favorite stuff to use, guys, because it's so easy to mold. It's I have carpal tunnel in both my hands, as I'm sure a lot of you people out there do too, and I still love to do this. I can knead the Sculpey 3, but I can't do the Primo because that's just a little too thick for me. It's too dense. So what I'll do is I'm wiping this down, set that off to the side, and I let it dry a little bit. Then I will open up the package. And what I like to do is I kind of dust my hands off to the side, try to get rid of some of that whatever may be on my hands, lint, what have you. And I like to take my cutting tool, and I love this. I got it from Polymer Clay Superstore. I think that's what it's called. I'll have to check it out and put a link below so you guys could see them. I buy my clay from them because it's pretty cheap. It's usually only like $1.75, and then they do shipping of, I think it's like $4.99 for as much as you want to buy. They have some good sales that go on sometimes, so that's just who I prefer. They're not paying me to say anything, or you know, I'm not affiliated with them at all, but that's just who I go through. And what I like to do is to cut my bar into sections. You see how easy that is? Whenever you start off with this too, every time I start anew, I like to take my baby wipe and make sure that that's clean. Because, you know, it's like with anything. Once you get a buildup on it, it lags and doesn't want to cut your clay good, you know, very well. So take some of these, and then you're going to condition them. And this is just the way that I do it. You could do it any way you want to. Some people start off rolling them. I have weak hands, so I like to take a little bit at a time and not overwhelm myself, and not fatigue my arms too badly. So what I'll do is I usually take just a little bit of it, and I'll kind of twist it around and roll it up and set it aside. I'll get some more and do it in manageable pieces so that you're not overwhelmed, and it doesn't become a chore, because this is all about us having fun and taking a little stress out, and, you know, doing something with our artistic abilities, and just having some fun with this stuff. So I'm going to do this for this last piece. Now this is 2-ounce bar of Sculpey 3 white pearl clay. And like I said, pearl is pretty much one of my favorite things to use because it doesn't get too sticky, and it forms well to the molds that I use. So let's make a big sausage with this. All right, I'm gonna break that in half. So this is something that's manageable that I can work with easily. Then I will take my mold. Now I think these are these aren't being produced anymore, but just because I can't find them anywhere, not even on the Sculpey website. I've tried looking because I use one for my white and for my pearl white clay. And then I use another one that you'll see in other videos or maybe even later on, that has dye all in it because I use the dark clays and the pinks and the blues and all that stuff, and that color will kind of leach into your molds. So I like to keep them separate. But this one I use for the pearl white and the white. What I do is I take cornstarch, just a little cup of it, and I keep this in a little baggie so that it doesn't get dust in it. And then that way, whenever I'm doing this, I just pull it out of the baggie. Like I keep it in there like that. And then I have a stiff little brush that I use, and I keep this in there as well. And I kind of pinch it closed and set it inside my little drawer that I keep my Sculpey stuff in. But this is cornstarch, and you don't want to use a lot of it. You just want to use very little. So what I'll do is I'll take just a little schmutz of it and tap it off, okay? And I'm going to be making this face right now. So I'll rub it in there, kind of get it in her nose and on her cheek and on her forehead. That's where it normally sticks. So then we're going to take the mold, we're going to tap it out, give it a little blow. I kind of eyeball it. It doesn't take a lot to fill this mold up, and you don't really want to overfill it because when you're trimming it off, it can move it and cause distortion in the face. So, you know, once you do this a couple of times, you kind of see this is a lot. But that's good because I'll show you how you can trim that off. Okay, I push that in there. I hold it from the bottom. I take my cutting tool and I saw. You gotta saw it because if you try to push it through, you're just gonna push that whole face up to the top. And then I take my finger and I kind of rub it back a little bit and rub it from the sides. Okay. And then I'm just going to pop it out. So now, every time you do this, it's not going to turn, even though it's a mold, it's not going to turn out exactly the same every time because of the different pressure that you use to the left or to the right, or to, you know, whenever you're cutting it, you may give a little bit of pressure to one side or the other. So there's always a small difference, and that's what I love about this, because each face has its own individual characteristics, its own little spirit, I guess you could say. I then take this tool. I don't know what it's called, but I love it. As you can tell, I use it a lot. I use this to do the nostrils, and I like to just do a little bit of dent in there, so it kind of gives a little bit of a suggestion that it's not just an alien face, you know. Can you see that okay? Okay. So really, you're done. You're done with that simple face. Trying to find where the camera is. Okay. So, you know, and sometimes I'll take it and I'll smooth it because sometimes it'll have little pucker marks. With this face, you can do so many different things. You could give it so many different looks. I like to use a dot and pearl tool. They come in 3 different sizes. Let me show you this real quick. You know, and if you don't have these, find stuff around your house. I mean, you could use a toothpick, you could use a safety pin. You know, there's so many different things that you can just figure out and do it yourself. But I have these because I am a craftaholic and I buy a lot of stuff that I probably shouldn't buy, but I love to because I like having all these different tools. This comes in a 3-pack too, and it has the different ends on here with the different ball sizes, and then it has the different rubber tips on this side, and these are very handy whenever it comes to smoothing things out. You could really get in a lot of good crevices and really work your clay around with that. I also use this a lot. I got it in a large pack. Oh, it's Arteza. See, I'll use this too. A large pack of Arteza stuff. I think there was probably about 30 pieces in there, and this is the one that I use the most, and you know, I'll use this one too. Otherwise, I use my fingers. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff that you could use. You can use the end of your paintbrush. You know, I don't have a roller. They always say to use a roller whenever you're rolling out your clay. I don't have one because I didn't want to spend money on one. But what I did have was a cannoli, the center of a cannoli piece. Oh, and I can't find it. Oh, here it is. See this? You use this to bake a cannoli with. And I use this all the time. I even use the end to cut out holes or do different things with it, you know? So you could use pretty much anything you have around your house as long as your imagination can think of it. You can do it, you know, reasonably. But what I'll do is I'll take this face and I'll do a couple of lines above the eyebrow on one side. You see that? Okay. And then I'll take this end and I'll poke. I'll do a couple of holes there. Now this is before this is baked. You just pulled it out of the mold and the clay is really soft. So there you have a little bit of a different look for this guy, okay? And you could do so many different variations. See, like this one I did, I like to give them little eyelashes so that when I paint these and I do a little smudge work on them, I'll paint them with acrylic paint and then wipe that paint off with a wet towel or a wet paper towel, and the color stays in those crevices and it really gives it a neat effect, which I'll show you how to do those too. But for right now, I'm going to stop this. Okay, for these faces too, I have one in beige right here. I don't know if you can tell the difference. Instead of using a tool like that to decorate it, you could take something like a bead cap or beads themselves, and you could place it on here to do a little decorating. I'm going to stick that right in the middle. Push that down. Okay, and now it's secure in there. Kind of squish push it a little bit so it comes up, and you see that's a different look too. And then if you even wanted to go a little bit further, let's see, where is that? You could take this again. Oh, I got something on there. And do some dots. Get rid of that dirt there. Okay. And the further that you press in, the deeper the indentation is going to be, the darker of the impression that you're going to leave behind whenever you put that paint in there, because it'll be hard to get out, and it'll really leave, Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to do a large face. This is a very pretty face. I like to do it with a lot of my captions that I sell on www.phoenixfoxsupplies.etsy.com. And again, that was a little bit of cornstarch. Rub it inside of this mold with a stiff brush, and then I bang the excess out. Sometimes I'll give it a little blow, you know, try to get out as much as I can, but it's necessary to put that in there so that it doesn't stick. Some people use water, but I've never tried to do that before. I'm comfortable with my cornstarch method. So then what you do is you try not to put too much in there, because you don't want to have to cut off way too much excess. So you want to try to push it in there as best as you can to try to get all the detail. See, now I have put a little bit too much in there for my comfort. And what I'll do is saw that right off of there. It just goes flush with the mold. Pull that back a little bit, a little slap and tickle there to get those edges up so it doesn't look, you know, too bad whenever you flip it over. And you see how that popped right out? Now this one, because this is to show you exactly what happens, because I cut the back of it, sometimes you'll get these type of errors on your mold, to where it kind of, you know, pushes the eyelids a couple of times, and the nose and the mouth, so it doesn't look quite right. Sometimes I'll start over and redo this piece, and then other times I will mix something else into it. But this time I'll go ahead and start it over. Like I'll add a bunch of dots and dashes, or, you know, play with the face a little bit to try to do something different. This time. Roll it a ball, and then I kind of do a little bit of a sausage so it fits the face pretty well. I don't have to do a whole lot of pushing around. And I've already trimmed it, so now it fits in there really good. It where it should be, and if it will release, because I forgot to put cornstarch on there. There we go. So what I'll do is I just give it a little bit of smooth and push it down a little bit. Rub her pretty little face. Okay, so then that's how she comes out. And again, like I said before, they don't all come out exactly the same. It just depends on how you pushed it in there, how you pulled it out of there. Sometimes it sticks a little bit here and it creates some divots and stuff. I say work with it. I love the differences that you can make with these things. And then I always like to put nostrils on my faces. You don't have to. You could just leave it the way it is, give it that stubby nose there, but I like to give it nostrils because I think it gives it a little bit of a personality. You could leave it like this and bake it, or you can do some fun stuff with it with your pearl and dot tools. I'll give her little eyelashes. You'll really be able to see these whenever when I paint these. I'm going to show you how to do that too. See how she had little lashes in there? She looks really cute. She's really going to look good whenever we paint these. And again, I'm not a professional. You know, I just do this. I sell my faces on Etsy, and people buy them. They like to make little dolls with them, or I've had people make jewelry, do embroidery, intricate beads, where they do like cuffs for their wrists, and they do really cool cuffs for their necklaces. It's really neat. It's amazing what people can come up with. And I love to see it. You guys buy some of my stuff, send me pictures of what you make with it. I love to share that. I get on Facebook and my family says these are my creepy little faces. My friends say the same thing too. They're like, those are weird, but other people like weird and beautiful things just like I do. I have always been attracted to faces, even whenever I was a teenager. I grew up in the 80s. I was born in 73. So, you know, my formative years as a young woman was in the 80s and early 90s. And I just always had a interest in those Harlequin dolls. Do you remember that? They were big back then. I had big Harlequin posters up on my wall. I even went as a Harlequin doll for a couple of years at Halloween to parties. I know I'm a dork, but I did, and I enjoyed it. Okay, now this one has a little schmutz on its face. And what I'll do is I'll wait till I bake this. And then I'll take a piece of sanding paper, fine grit sanding paper, and buff that out before I paint it. So, see how easy it is to make these faces? All you need is a mold, and I don't know where you can get these anymore besides, I think I looked them up and they're selling them on eBay for like $30 or something crazy like that. And I bought this a year ago for like $5. So, I don't know. They're great things. I know they sell a lot of face molds on Etsy and on eBay. You could find this stuff anywhere. All you got to do is type it into Google, and Google will tell you where it is. It's a wonderful world we live in, isn't it? Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do the big moon face. I'm going to take just a little bit of my cornstarch, rub it in his face. Okay. Push that right down in the center. spread it out as evenly as I can, all the way to the walls without going over it. I'm going to give it a couple good pushes throughout so it'll make a good impression of the eyes and the nose and all that stuff. And then try to pop it out. There we go. Hey, it worked. Now this one I don't do nostrils because he's got a pretty definitive nose. So, but I will do a little bit of smoothing. Sometimes these edges come out a little rough, so you want to soften them up. And sometimes that cornstarch will get caught on his nose or lips, and you just kind of wipe that off. So there we go. Same thing with him. If you want to put some stripes on him, if you want to do some dots, if you want to do some circles, throw, you know, a bead cap or some beads on his face before you bake him, that's fantastic. Or you could bake him as is and you could paint him, and they turn out very beautiful that way too. All right, so now we're going to work this back in there. And you want to try not to get air bubbles in this. Air bubbles are a bad thing whenever it comes to polymer clay. If you do happen to get them and you see them, you want to make sure you take something sharp and poke it. I don't see any. So there's one here on the end. You see how that blistered up? And you want to poke it and get that air out of there. Now it's ready for my next face.